Lydia and I will explore how Leopoldo Mendez's deportation to death can relate to the current U.S. southern border humanitarian crisis. Leopoldo Mendez was a Mexican artist who is primarily recognized as a founding member of the Taller de Gráfica Popular and for the outstanding graphic work created during his career. The graphic works of the TGP engages, informs, and educates the people of Mexico and intersects with international concerns. In these efforts, the artist created work that opposed fascism and encouraged socialism in an attempt to emphasize the importance of an image in regard to global affairs. The Black Book of Nazi Terror in Europe, created in 1943, was the Taller de Gráfica Popular's most important anti-fascist work, made in collaboration with the European exiled community in Mexico. The following print is titled Deportation to Death, or Deportación a la Muerte in Spanish, made in 1942 and placed at the beginning of an essay by Dr. Leon Weiss titled The Extermination of the Jews, summarizing the destruction of the Jewish population in Europe.
When looking at Mendez's black and white print, one sees a vertical division that subtly splits the image into two. We see this division created by the slight dark gap between the first and the second train car from the right. On the right side of the division is a car filled with white human figures. The human figures contrast their dark background that looks like a black void. In addition, the figures in the car contrast the two dark figures with guns. The two figures with guns express an active and aggressive demeanor. Unlike any other figure in the print, those in the train car have detailed, stylized, and solemn facial expressions. On the left side of the vertical division, we can see the use of linear perspective as the train cars get smaller and smaller. As the viewer's eyes are led from right to left, one observes a group of silhouettes, almost like shadows, being ushered into the second car. Compared to the figures in the first car, however, these silhouettes blend in with the background and the dark setting of the print itself. The use of linear perspective is also present in the way that the smoke is depicted. It's as if after one's eyes follow the right-to-left trajectory, the smoke continues to lead the eyes from the bottom to the top of the print. In this dark and somber composition, we can see the start of both the train and the smoke. Yet the end is not at sight, as both the train cars and the smoke seem to go on and on forever.
Mendez's Deportation to Death is one of the earliest known artistic images of the Holocaust created by an artist outside of the concentration camps, as photographs of deportations and concentration camps were not displayed outside of German jurisdiction until mainly after the war. The imagery and the content of Leopoldo Mendez's print are reminiscent of the contemporary United States southern border humanitarian crisis. By observing this TGP print, we become the witnesses to the truths and the legacy of the past. In their journal article, sociologists Nancy Foner and Richard Alba claim that we must acknowledge the legacy of the Holocaust in understanding the current realities of immigrants. The depiction in Mendez's print show contemporary viewers the grim effects of discrimination on the basis of race and ethnicity.
Sociologist Douglas Massey states in his journal article, "The current immigration crisis stems from a schizophrenic attempt to create an integrated North American market within which borders are rendered permeable with respect to movements of goods, capital, information, services, raw materials, and certain kinds of people, but impermeable with respect to the movement of workers." There seems to be an ongoing discriminatory approach to the integration of human beings from one land to another. Thus, as you can see in this photograph taken by Veronica Gabriela Cardenas, Due to lack of access and aid, migrants from Central America must take on life-threatening journeys to reach the U.S. It's quite chilling to see how similar this photograph is to Mendes's print. One difference, however, is that in Mendes's print, Nazi officials aggressively attempt to keep the Jewish population inside the train cars. Now, immigration agents and Mexican soldiers raid freight trains to detain the Central American migrants riding atop the cars. Yet the approach toward these minority groups are the same: aggressive, frightening, and severely disappointing.
Mendes's print portrayed unarmed Jewish men, women, and children all crowded into the boxcar. It bears a resemblance to the immigrants on their way to the United States who take on a dangerous and potentially deadly journey of their own. It is the fear for one's life that creates the similarities between these suffering people. Every year, tens of thousands of Latinos and Latinas travel through Mexico to the United States border, riding on top of rusty cargo trains, which are known as La Bestia, or the Beast. It is a myth in the immigrant world and is an intense journey for undocumented immigrants. Migrants run the risk of being targeted by drug gangs, kidnapping, and even human trafficking in areas through which La Bestia runs. It is intense to learn just what people will go through to achieve what they perceive as a better life. Deportation, as in the title of Mendes's piece, holds a frightening meaning today to the undocumented immigrants in our country. Deportation can serve as a death sentence to the immigrants who have already established a family in the United States and provided security for these families. Deportation has layers of trauma and can raise insecurity within children who fear the threat of separation and loss within their family unit.
While the past seems to be repeating itself, there are contemporary artists who attempt to respond to the inhumane realities of immigration. Here we see a photograph taken by Jim Elliott of Richard Lou's border door. The freestanding door at the U.S.-Mexican border serves as a symbolic invitation to the migrants. Instead of having to crawl under barbed wires or squeeze through drainage pipes, Lou places a simple symbol of humane hope. Like Mendes's print, Lou's work is deeply political. Furthermore, we see yet again the importance of visual and technological documentation to educate those who are unaware, to stir emotion in those who do not care, and expose the truths of severely discriminatory approaches to integration.
It must be acknowledged that an emotional dimension must be present within conversations and discussions of the cases of undocumented immigrants. We must see to it that history does not repeat itself. We must learn from the past and realize that discrimination against vulnerable groups of people should not be sustained, but a helping hand and a welcoming community can bridge borders.